Yo Joe's doing some figure building today. My order from Marauder Gunrunners just came in and I'm gonna be making myself a Defiant Crawler driver, codename Hardtop, and I'm also going to be doing a Joe Colton figure on the cheap. The G.I. Joe Collectors Club put out quite a few figures that hadn't been released at retail, and while it was really nice to get some of those figures that never got put out in stores, some of them were pretty pricey, and I've always had a thing about reusing parts at a big markup. As the Hulkster used to say, that doesn't work for me, brother. And ever since those figures were released from the club, they've only skyrocketed in value. I just took a look on eBay for Joe Colton figures. Looked a few months ago and there were some for hundreds of dollars mint on card. The only one I can find at the moment on eBay is a loose one for $190. That's crazy. Or you can make yourself one using Marauder Gunrunners parts for $14. So in order to make a Joe Colton figure, I'll get to Hardtop second, but starting off with the first G.I. Joe. If you don't know who Joe Colton is, he is the very first G.I. Joe, and he appeared in Marvel Comics in 1988. And even though he's not an active part of the Joe team, once a Joe, always a Joe. He was played by Bruce Willis in G.I. Joe Retaliation, but I prefer this original suited version. And all you need to put one together from Marauder Gunrunners is the Agency Ops blue suit and white shirt with light skin tone. I guess you can make them whatever skin tone you want. But the blue suit is what you need for Joe Colton, and then any bearded head will do. The one I'm going to use for today is the light-skinned, brown-haired, brown-bearded Ranger head. It's not in stock at the moment, not in light skin tone anyway. But they do have a Trooper light-skinned, bearded head that you can use as well. Just going for that original Adventure Team look. But I think this looks just fine. And all I got to do is just pop it on. Just like a anniversary Joe figure or any other modern Joe figure. And the skin tone matches perfectly. That's one thing that's important, getting the head skin tone to match the body skin tone, light and light. Both fantastic. If you're not familiar with Marauder Gunrunner figures, they're just like modern G.I. Joe figures. The articulation is exactly the same. The quality build of them is fantastic. I'd say just as good, and if not in some cases better than modern G.I. Joe figures. He's got this suit here which is going to hinder a little bit of his forward moving, but joints are all fantastic. And that's your $14 Joe Colton figure. Instead of your $200 now at this point, if you want to get one G.I. Joe Club figure. And if you want to give him a stand, any modern Joe stand will work. It's the same peg holes on him. And if you want to arm him up a little bit, you can pick any weapon you want off of Marauder Gunrunners. The one that I decided to go with is the semi-automatic pistol, black version. And it is so tiny, hard to get a close-up of it, but there it is. That is some awesome paint on there. Brown handle on the gun even. Gunmetal gray, really beautiful. The hand that the Agency Ops figures come with even has a trigger finger on it. So we're getting into classified levels of detail here, even though this is a 3 3/4 inch figure. Looks awesome. Finger even fits right through the trigger hole on the pistol. And old Joe has a free hand here, which you can fill in with another weapon. This is just a G.I. Joe shotgun. Since the club version came with a shotgun, you can give Joe Colton his own shotgun. Shotgun seems like something Joe Colton would use. Someone who's not an active soldier but still wanting to kick some Cobra butt. Or since he's all dolled up in the suit, they also got briefcases at Marauder. It's called the briefcase satchel with working lid. And I'll give you a peek inside before I pop it in his hand. You can put all sorts of goodies in here. Oops. There's a flashlight in there. There's a laptop. And an extra pistula. Even though it's really thin, there's quite a bit of space in there for all sorts of gear. And I think that goes quite nicely with a suited figure. It's business in one hand and party in the other. The only thing this version of your custom Joe Colton figure is missing is the holster, which the club figure has. I don't really mind that because the point of a underarm holster when you're wearing a blazer is to conceal the weapon, and that club figure isn't really concealing anything, so I don't mind that he's missing the holster. That is a really awesome looking Joe Colton figure, and I think he'll look really nice standing on the flag next to all the other top brass like Hawk and Flint, Duke, and Beachhead. And the next figure we're building today is Hardtop. This one's going to be fun because there's so many parts to put them together. It's going to be the driver of the Defiant. And an original Hardtop figure goes for quite a bit these days. Loose with no accessories, no mic or gun, is $100. And if he does have his accessories, it can go for twice as much or maybe even 3 times as much. And the club did put out their own hardtop figure back in 2017. And that one can go for usually around $100. It's on card, sometimes for more. If you get really, really lucky, you can go for a little bit less than that. But the problem is you gotta wait and wait and look and look and wait. So if you want to grab a club hardtop figure, you can grab one for $100, or you can put your own together for well under that, and then even load it up with a ton of extra little accessories that the original didn't have or that the club version doesn't have, and still come in at well under $50. So if you want to make your own Marauder Defiant crawler driver, all you need is the Strato Ops cloth leg version. There's a different version. The boots look a little bit different. I'm going for as close to the original G.I. Joe figure, 87 figure, as I can get. I'm just going to pop this on a stand so that he's not falling off. But it's really whatever look you want. I'm trying to get as close to the original one as I can. This is going to end up kind of looking like a classified figure. Sometimes they tweak the classified designs a little bit from the original versions for artistic license. So this is more just working with what I have to work with instead of artistic license. So many different heads you can go with. The original hardtop didn't have a removable helmet, so you're not really stuck with any head. I just decided to go with old Fritz here. Get the denim. You can pick any hair color you want, any face you want. I just looked at this one and thought, I don't know, that one kind of looks like a guy named Hardtop who's driving a very, very expensive installation. And we stick the hat on. The thing about the Strato Ops figures is that the necks aren't painted, so that you can put any skin tone on them and you're not going to have a mismatch. I don't really care. Looks like a turtleneck to me instead of an unpainted part, but if you're really picky about that, then just paint it up yourself. And get him a helmet. They don't have any helmets there that look exactly like Hardtop's helmet, like a construction helmet. So I decided to go with the LWH combat helmet. And you can just stick that on his head. Fits nice and snug, and it gets the job done. It looks enough like Hardtop's original construction helmet. And there's a hole in there which you can add different peripherals, night vision, that type of stuff. Or you can just stick in the plug in there that's included in order to just cover up the hole. And it's kind of loose, so you might need to add a little dab of crazy glue on there in order to get it to stick. Or if you're not crazy about using something as permanent as crazy glue, you just stick a teeny tiny little bit of sticky tack in there, and that'll hold nice and tight. Now you can stick with this body as it is if you want, but the original hardtop figure had his forearms visible. It's little things about a character's design that tells you a lot about them, and having your sleeves rolled up, to me, just tells you that Hardtop is a real hard worker. And so you can get these additional rolled up, bare light blue rolled up sleeves, light skin tone. And all you got to do is just pull out the existing ones. And you're going to want to heat those up with a hairdryer before you pull them out, because I was trying to pull them out just at room temperature, and you can see a little bit of plastic stress mark there. And here are the visible forearm ones, and what I just noticed about these is they look like they don't move. If you take a really close look at them, it looks like there's no elbow joint there, but it's actually just the paint. It's been, the joints have been painted over, so move it a little bit and you can see a little bit of paint flecking there. They do move, thankfully. And I don't think you need to heat these up to pop them in, but it would probably help. Just for the purpose of doing the videos. If I wasn't doing videos for these, I would be taking extra precautions, but I want to show you how durable this stuff is on camera. So there you go. If you don't feel like doing the hairdryer deal, you can get that in there without breaking it. And this one was really painted over on the back. See a bunch of paint chunks back there. And pop this one in. Takes a little bit of force, but once again, no hairdryer required, no breakage, and luckily some of that paint goop stuff gets hidden by these little elbow pads that he has. Some paint flecking off on my fingers there. And those were great. Awesome. Love the joints on these. And if you decided to go with the visible forearms, you can give him some white gloves from the forearms that you pulled out, or you can just get him a set of male hands, bare, with light skin tone. These are just like the ones that Joe Colton has. And just kind of push and wiggle and twist. That's one tip I can give when you're inserting on any figure, 3 3/4 or classified 6-inch, 7-inch, whatever. Don't just shove it in, push it in. That's how these things get snapped and broken. 12-inch scale too. Just kind of twist and wiggle up and down, and that'll help avoid breaking those fragile pegs in there. So now Hardtop, the base figure, is all finished, and we can start dressing him up a little bit. And one of the most important parts of his outfit is his rig. And I really wonder if Marauder did this one specifically for Hardtop. So it's a male vest harness rig, white with red, which is what the original 87 Hardtop figure had. A white rig with red accents. It looks perfect on him. That is really Hardtop. Baby blue with white rig and red accents. And it's got a little buckle in the front here. That was really easy. Pull it down a little bit to have the shoulders sitting flush. And here's another little tip I can give you for buckles like this that can be a little tricky. Like if you're trying to shove that in, you can't because it's just pressing up against the body of the figure. Get something thin as a crepe and shove it in behind. Give a little bit of space in order to get that plug in there. It's so tiny, it's especially tricky to do. This is handy that you can actually go through one of these harness holes actually to get in there. And that's sitting flush now. It's looking fantastic so far. Hardtop needs that microphone. Every old vintage Joe that had a microphone, that was one of the most infernal pieces of a G.I. Joe. They were always getting lost. And they can be so much more expensive these days when the microphone is actually included. The helmet also has a hole in the other side, if for whatever reason you want it to be in the other side. Now we're going to do him up with some weapons because the original figure had some sculpting details. This is the great thing about modern Joes, is that the details that used to be just sculpted on are now actually removable and usable. So he had a knife on his right leg, and I've gotten one of these fighting knife and sheath, white version. I would have preferred a black handle version of the knife. They didn't have any in stock, so this will do. Just stick it in the, got these holes all over the figure. They're almost like centurions. Pop it on there, and now you've got not just a removable sheath, but a removable knife too. I can't imagine him using this for anything repair related on the Defiant. My God, would you want the shuttle that you're about to blast into space being fixed with a knife? But that's a really cool little option there. And instead of being molded on like the 87 figure, it's actually sticking out from the figure. That looks so cool. And adjustable. The original figure had a holster and a gun on his right leg as well. Oh, by the way, they send everything in these individual little tiny bags, which are fantastic for storing your own parts in. Small, easy to lose little parts. So if you do a big order of a whole bunch of parts, not only do you get the figure and the parts, but you get all these little bags, which are great for keeping all those teeny tiny parts separate, not just in a giant bin where they can get lost. And the holster that I went with is the small right-handed white light blue version. So you gotta pay attention. If you want it on his right leg, you need to get the right-handed holster, since that's the direction the gun will be coming out of. Let's give it a good twist. I like the little bit of baby blue right on there. It goes with all the other baby blue stuff on the figure. And they have a lot of handguns, pistols on Marauder gun runners. I thought the 9mm, this particular one, looked the closest to the gun that the original Hardtop had. Pop it in his hand here. And you can actually, just like a classified figure, have him actually grabbing the handle of the gun while it's in the holster on his leg. And the original figure had some padding on his arms, on his legs. I guess he already does. He has the little white colored patch. And that can be it. That can be your Marauder Hardtop. But if you want to go a step further, they've got this really convenient all-in-one set. It's called Pouch and Pocket Deluxe Modular Set White, with light blue. Again, like the holster, I thought the white with the light blue accents on it would look the nicest on this particular figure. And kind of like Centurions or Lego, I guess, you can grab whatever you want, mix and match. All sorts of different pouches, magazines, little tech-looking things, pouches. And the figure is covered with these holes, plus now the harness, the rig, has holes all over it. 4 on the back as well. So this guy who's supposed to be the tech guy for the Defiant, you can really cover him head to toe with tech stuff. I think these particular pouches would look nicest on his arms. And the nice thing about adding these is they cover up the holes as well. And what else we got here? This right here has a hole in it. It looks like it can actually hold some stuff. So I think that would look nice on his belt. Just twist it into the rig hole there. And now it's kind of like a tool belt. And pop the other one in there too. If you want to get him some additional gear like this gray motion tracker, which to me looks like some kind of readout thing, technical thing that a guy working on a rocket ship might have, some kind of schematic thing. You can feed it into the pocket right there. I guess the handle is a little on the long side to fit in there, but you could fit other tool looking things in there. There's this thing, I think this is meant for the helmet, but you can just shove it in there. Looks like some kind of tool he'd be using to fix things up. Or you could use one of these black phones. And will it fit? Yeah, fits perfect. Looks awesome. I would imagine this guy would be the opposite of the uncontactable man. He would have many, many different ways of being contacted by many different departments. He's the man who makes the Defiant run. So I just imagine him having cell phone, smartphone, radio, walkie-talkie. Speaking of walkie-talkie, here's this little communicator right here. This is the radio walkie-talkie, and it's got a little post on it. And I just imagined this would look cool if you stuck it in one of the chest holes on his harness. It's another way to communicate. And then here's this C4 detonator with antenna. This is even smaller than the radio walkie-talkie. Teeny tiny thing. But again, the antenna just looks like another communication thing. So maybe we'll just stick that there. I don't know, it might be a little bit of overkill. And we still have quite a few patches left here. And a couple of holes too. So maybe take one of these. There's a pair of these big ones. These would look good on his leg. Right there. It's got another hole down here. And these look cool. Again, kind of technical looking component things. That might look good there. And it does. And the only holes left are on his back. Oh, there's one on the side too. Didn't even notice that. The harness has side posts too. And there's a bunch of more of these little technical looking tiny ones. I think we can fill up the rig with these. One in there, and a couple more on the back, and one right above the pistol. And I think I will take off that C4 detonator off the front and put a pouch on there. Just looks like you'd keep some screws or something in there, and leave the 2 holes empty on his back, because how would he get to them? I mean, these might be tricky to get to as well, but how's he going to get to some kind of pouch on his back unless he asks someone? And one more tool. Marauder has a whole bunch of different tools there. Pipe wrench, I thought, would go nicely. This guy who's always working on things, and this is a really awesome looking pipe wrench. I really do like this motion tracker. It seems to really fit this guy very well. And one patch left over, and there is the custom Marauder Hardtop version. So I'll do a side-by-side of my hardtop and the club hardtop, doing them side-by-side like this. I prefer the Marauder one. I think it just looks better. I really like having a removable helmet. The club one doesn't have the removable helmet, and even though it's a little busier than the original 87 figure was, the in this particular case, the Defiant is a very busy place. There's a lot going on with it. So he's a character that, he's not a fighter, he's not a soldier, he's not a ranger. He is a sergeant, but his military specialty isn't to be going on missions and shooting at cobras. It's to take care of the space station. So he's a figure that I would want all done up with all sorts of technical stuff, repair stuff, almost Battle Force 2000 level of gear. The nice thing about the adjustable helmet, a removable helmet, is that you can actually adjust it, so you can pull it up a little bit if you want, or you can hang it low. Kind of makes them look tougher when it's low, and give you a slow pan up. Some really incredible detail here. Amazing bang for your buck, plus the fun of getting to assemble it yourself, playing around, putting it together, trying some things out like I did with the C4 radio thing. I thought that would look fantastic. I actually tried it in person, and no, it's a bit much. So if you don't want to pay the crazy price for a vintage hardtop, or even the little on the high side club hardtop figure for a Defiant, then this is an awesome alternative from Marauder Gunrunners. Or make some other figure. You don't even have to do one of the ones that I showed today. You can get an idea for a figure that you've always dreamed of. That'll be the next video in a while. In the next couple weeks, hopefully, I'll be able to do one for a classic TV show that I don't believe has ever had any toys, figures ever for it, and I'm going to make my own and do a video on how to do your own for that classic TV character. So if you missed out on the Joe Club figures, there's 2 really affordable alternatives to them, and they look, in my opinion, just as good, if not better, than the official club version. And they don't look like they're just a bunch of reused parts like a lot of the club figures were. So I hope this helps, and thanks for watching. Until next time, don't forget to play, because toys aren't just for display. Learn them to stay.